Hey, welcome into another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com. Happy to have you here. I'm Hayden Uhlencott, and as always, our Cornerstone Insurance is our great sponsor for this Prepcast, and this is always streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and our X account. If you miss it, you can always catch it on the back end wherever you may get your podcast, or you can just find it on the replay on YouTube, X, or Facebook, whatever works best for you. We want to, get as much engagement from the fans as possible, and that can't be done without you guys. So without further ado, we'll bring on our co-host, Ryan. How are you, man? We're getting close.
We're getting there. Yeah, definitely hit and grind time now. I mean, between wrestling and girls basketball, both have districts coming up, and then, boys is just a couple weeks away with about 2 or 3 games left in their season. So, yeah.
Yep. Girls districts are kicking off. I believe they kicked off last night, at least in some classifications. And so that'll be winding up in the next couple days. And then next week, we'll really hit hard on girls districts and who's going to be qualifying for the state tournament. That'll all be finalized next Saturday. So a week from Saturday, we will have an idea of who's going to state for the girls. Basketball ranks, and then state wrestling is the week following the 28th, February 28th is state wrestling, and then boys state is the following week. So since that is a month away exactly, that's what we're going to hit on all today is if state started today. We did the same thing 2 weeks ago for girls. If girls state started today, if you missed that, go watch it. It was a really good segment and I think Brandon Bainey did a pretty good job predicting who was going to be in it, and we kind of just replicated that. So that's kind of how our format works. We went off the Max Preps rankings for the seed line, and then also who Brandon thought would be the qualifying teams from each district. So let's hop into it. 1A is the first team. 1A classification is the first state tournament we have lined up. And from North Idaho, we have the number 5 seed Timberline matched up against number 4 Cary, number 6 Court of Christ against Garden Valley, and number 7 Nez Perce against number 2 Water Springs. I tell you what, Skaggs, those are some really tough matchups for everybody up north.
Yep. No favors done on seed lines. I mean, I think if you're going to look at an upset possibility, I mean, I saw a number of these teams play last year at state when I did the consolation rounds, namely, Rockland, Garden Valley, some pretty good, teams there. And there is no gimmies in this one. If I was going to pick an upset out of the north to make it to the second round, Cary's pretty darn good. I mean, that's a really good ball club. I mean, Timberline's been playing really good lately too. But I don't know if you can necessarily compare the two schedules. I don't think the north schedule has been as strong. I would say Court of Christ weirdly has an outside chance just because of their ability to score very well. And they can get out and run the floor. That would be a team I think that could give some serious fits come state tournament time. But I don't think any of these are a gimme by any stretch of the imagination. I really do think of all the brackets, 1A could be the one that goes chalk. Like that's the one that I really look at saying, it may go according to the seed line.
I would agree. Water Springs and Rockland have been fighting back and forth the entire year for that number 1 and number 2 spot. Just a week ago, Water Springs was number 1. So there's a good chance that those two flip, and either bid for Nez Perce is not an easy matchup. Just how athletic they are. That's what I've kind of taken away.
I think Water Springs has a 6'8" guy. So
they are super athletic.
Yeah.
So it's a tough matchup, but I wouldn't count out Timberline. Timberline's undefeated in league. I would also say
out of the White. Yeah.
Yep. And out of the White Pine, I wouldn't even say it's set in stone who goes. St. John Bosco's played really well lately. You can't count out a team like Genesee. They have a kid, Noah Bowman. He puts up the stats. I would not count out, these two teams that are right now going to state out of the White Pine might not be the two that go. It's really up for grabs in the White Pine, and I think Court of Christ has all but kind of locked up the District 1 league title, at least getting close. So I would expect to see those guys down at state, which would be great for them. I mean, isn't that got to be maybe their first state appearance?
I think they made it last year. Did they not?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I thought they made it last year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, just for that group of kids, just there's some talent there too between Hayes and everybody else in that lineup. There's some scorers, and they can run the floor. Depth is going to be the question mark, and that always is at the 1A ranks. I think that's where Rockland really gets the favor as far as being the favorite. Rockland and Water Springs have the ability to play, 6-7 guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the one I think is the turning point within the other teams that are at state, is who's going to be able to run a deeper bench as things wear on, especially playing 3 consecutive days possibly.
Yeah, there is one play-in game in District 1 in 1A, and that is the 2 seed from the White Pine would have to go play the 3 seed from District 3. So the second place finisher out of Garden Valley's conference, likely maybe like a council, that's who the second seed would have to play. So no guarantees that the White Pine gets 2 full seeds heading into state, but it's going to be a fun state tournament for sure. All right, 2A. This is a fun state tournament, Skaggs, one we pay a lot of attention to. The number 1 seed right now is Kendrick. I think that's clear cut as can be. Prairie right now is the 3, and then Lakeside is the 2. Those are the 3 bids out of North Idaho. I tell you what, I'm going to be surprised if we don't see an all North Idaho state tournament state finale. And I think you're going to have a real likelihood of seeing 3 North Idaho teams in the semis as well.
I mean, honestly, 100% agree. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's possibly 3 teams on North Idaho going 1, 2, 3. That's a possibility as well. Kendrick, I mean, they look like an absolute juggernaut right now. And you got 2,000 point scorers in the lineup. And, granted, how good is Twipe? And he eclipsed the 1,000-point mark this week. Rally Roads at Center did it last week, which is pretty cool for that lineup. And Nathan Twipe did it in 3 years. He lost last year because of a knee injury. Comes back for his senior season. He's been setting the world on fire. So, the Lakeside looks really strong right now too. That's a team that, if I'm anybody, that's a team I absolutely do not want to face. And it's not necessarily Tyson Charlie that's been doing all the legwork. Jalapiona's been just absolutely lighting it up. And he's a matchup nightmare too for a lot of teams. Not many have the athleticism that can move up and down the floor with that group. Kendrick I look as the favorite just because the ability to play inside, outside, the ability to shoot the ball from beyond the arc. If they can shoot at a high clip, they're very, very tough to beat. The other thing Kendrick does pretty well is play defense. They can, play the zone very, very effectively, which works out into their benefit and their favor. So that's, you got a chance, I think, of Prairie and Lakeside, you got a chance to watch that game. Did you not?
I didn't broadcast it, but I did watch it. And I tell you what, Lakeside, it didn't seem close how well Lakeside played. Granted, it wasn't Plummer. Plummer's not an easy place to play, but Lakeside just was so much faster than Prairie. That was my big takeaway. And Prairie played Kendrick very well. I mean, we've talked about that a couple weeks ago. Prairie was up by 1 heading into the 4th quarter against Kendrick. So I wouldn't count it out. Prairie, this week was huge for Prairie. They play Lakeside tomorrow, and then they play Kendrick Friday. And so by next Monday, we're going to know exactly how good, District 1 and 2 really are with those 2 games happening. Yeah. That's going to be a good one. I know Butte County, they're a good school. I wouldn't count them out. Also Grace could hop into that bid from District 5 and 6. They could be in the mix. The one play-in game in 2A is the 2 seed from District 2 from the White Pine will play the 3 seed out of District 3. And so Prairie at the moment would go play like a Compass Charter potentially, and that one's in McCall.
Or Liberty Charter or one of those.
Or Liberty Charter, one of the charter schools in Boise. That's who they'd be matched up against. Lapway right now is the 3 seed. They have a potential way to get into that play-in game if they can beat Prairie or Kendrick or whoever comes through. But that's kind of what it looks like. And I'd say right now it looks like a really fun state tournament in the next couple weeks.
100%.
3A has very similar results here, Skaggs. At the top is Wendell out of Southern Idaho, but number
Wendell
2 and
good, man. I watched them last year at state. That team plays. You talk about moxie and the ability to run the floor. Wendell's impressive. Very impressive group.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the 2 brothers are back, the twin brothers, and they're electric. The 2 seeds Orfino and the 3 seed St. Mary's 2 weeks ago when we were going to do this, St. Mary's was the 1 seed. And so after back-to-back losses in literally 2 weeks, St. Mary, can you believe this, Skaggs? I'm going off on a tangent. St. Mary's in the last 2 weeks has played 2 games. They played St. Mary or Orofino 2 Saturdays ago, and then they played Kendrick last Friday. Their next game is this Friday against Priest River.
Keep your legs fresh, but
holy cow. Just
but you talk
crazy.
About, yeah, having back-to-back games though with Orofino and Kendrick, and I don't think Orofino's been talked about enough. That is a maniac team that they're legit. They made it to state last year, came in kind of the upset bid out of the CIL and earned their way to the state tournament, and by and large earned some respect when they got there too, with a pretty plucky bunch. And that's a group that they returned the lion's share of that roster, and they've been playing on fire. I mean, yeah, they lost to Lewiston, but that's a 5A opponent and one of the bigger 5A schools. But based off of everything else you've seen out of the Maniacs, what else do you need? I mean, they beat Prairie twice, right? They beat Lapway, I believe. They knocked off St. Mary's. I mean, the Maniacs are a really, really, really good bunch. Two teams I would love to see a little bit of separation between St. Mary's and Orofino to not be on the same half of the bracket, because I do see them both going deep into the tournament. It would suck to see them, obviously. It would be nice if Wendell maybe picked up a loss. I don't know if that's going to happen or not for the Max Preps rankings, but if you're St. Mary's, it's like, hey, do you chuck one to try to get to the 4 line just to get opposite? But then you have to play Wendell instead of Orofino. So both these teams I see as semifinal teams, St. Mary's and Orofino. Both of them, either one of them would not shock me to see them playing Saturday inside the Idaho Center in the state championship game.
Yeah, 100% agree.
I'll say this too: New Plymouth is a deceptive 7 seed. I'll give credit where credit's due with the Pilgrims. They've been playing pretty well this year, so that's not a gimme game by any means. And you got Ambrose up there at the 8, to where the Archers are an 8 seed. That to me kind of seems puzzling when you look at the history of that program. I think of a lot of the brackets, this one could be pretty darn deep. As far as the top 8 teams go, they're all pretty solid programs. So yeah, I mean, there's no gimmies. They're going to have to earn it round 1, step out on the floor and play your best, does Orofino and St. Mary's. But both these teams, as far as what you see roster wise, very, very good.
Our great friend Sean Kane in the chat says 3A will be fun. Can't agree with him more. And hopefully, and the best part about 3A, I was talking to Brandon about it about a couple weeks ago, just about like, okay, what classification has the best amount of the right amount of teams going, the right seeds going into the state tournament. And 3A is the only one that I've seen where you get 2 bids from every single conference. Everyone's kind of getting equal representation. It's not biased towards one side of the state. And I thought that was kind of unique about this conference.
I agree.
Sam Buffington says all the classifications will be fun. Well, all the classifications will be fun, Sean. He's discrediting 3A. He's saying the rest will be just as good.
I think especially though 3A is the one that I look at, and that's a deep group. And if I saw the 8 seed sitting in the semifinals, I'd be like, yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, Ambrose will have a tall task against Wendell. West Shea Ryrie looks like a really fun game if that's what takes place. That 4-5 game, they're always pretty darn good anyways in fun games. So yeah, I mean, the 3A though, as far as competitive balance goes, I think is probably, I'll have to go back and look at the Max Preps rankings, but I think there may be the closest bunch within the classifications. I think for the top 6 seeds, I think they're all pretty packed up, fairly close within striking distance of each other.
I think you're right about that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of that too. I don't think there's any teams missing out to where you look back at 2A. In 2A, Lapway right now is the number 2 team in the state. Is that accurate? Not quite sure, but they're at least a top 5 team in the state, and they're not going. Mackey down in 1A isn't going to the state, wouldn't be going to the state tournament right now. They're a top 3 team in the state. So 3A definitely has probably the best balance. One other comment from Sean Kane here. Districts could mess this up big time. I think it could be upsets. Seeds might not mean as much as other brackets. I would
So
agree with
Wendell is number one right now. Max Prep's 15.26. Orfino's 2, 15.14. St. Mary's is third, 15.08. West J is 13.61 at 4. Ryrie at 5 is 11.74. Firth is 10.34. And then you have a little bit of a dividing line there at 7th. So with Soda Springs at 7, New Plymouth 8th, and West Side at 9. There could be an upset too, and that's the thing that you got to account for going into districts, is that one of these other teams that are kind of lurking could end up finding a way in just by theory of winning a district game or two.
Yeah, no doubt. 4A, this is where it kind of gets tricky and slim picking in North Idaho. Only one representation, and it's Bonners Ferry right now is the 5 seed. I don't think they really get a bad spot, but to boot with Bonners Ferry is they only get a half seed, so they actually have to have a play-in game in Grangeville against the 3 seed out of District 3. And so they're not even a guaranteed spot into the tournament. I think they will. After losing what they lost last year, it's always tough to compare. But I would also say Sugar Salem, they're undefeated right now. They've played a lot of close games. Even like Filer, they lost to Filer, but they beat Filer by less than 10. Yeah. Goodings hung in with Sugar Salem.
So
is Bonners
because
that level? I'm not sure.
The playing game for Bonners would be either McCall, Donnelly, or Fruitland, according to the current rankings. If it finishes as chalk as what it is, Bonners Ferry 7-8 on the year. They played a murderous schedule. They've played really tough opponents too. I mean, going up, classifications, going down classifications, and playing quality 2A, 3A opponents. So, Bonners, has played some tough games, taken some lumps, but to get a 5 seed there is pretty darn favorable. If you're looking at the landscape of 4A, the one that obviously stands out is Sugar because they're 19-0. Teton is second, it's 14-4. Only one of those two teams is going to go to state. And if Teton shows up at districts, what if they beat Sugar and that's Sugar's one loss on the year and it's one and done? I mean, that would be crazy, but it's not out of the realm of possibility as good of a team as Teton is. And then there going to be bid stealers coming out of these district tournaments where you got American Falls, Snake River, Marsh Valley's right there in the mix too with Snake River. So that's another team that was a state team last year that you can't count out. So yeah, it could get real interesting real quick. And if maybe a Homedale or if Cole Valley slip up at districts and you get, some shuffling around, that Bonners could get bounced if Cole Valley loses in the semifinals of the district tournament. So, that's kind of something you got to keep an eye on. Bonners is not guaranteed a spot at state. They have to win a play-in game. And it's not, depending on what happens in the SRV, could be a winnable game. It could be a really good team. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, there could be a real opportunity. Cole Valley is the team that comes through, and yeah, Cole Valley's electric this year. I don't know. Cole Valley could be the favorite coming out of 4A. I mean, it's hard to take away from Sugar's undefeated season so far, but Cole Valley looks really good on the year. But it'll be, hopefully we can at least get 1 seed out of North Idaho in 4A. That's the goal since there was a state champion. You can't count out that. Bonners Ferry, the defending state champs.
2-time state champs. Yeah.
You're right. Back to back. All right, 5A, another great tournament for Northern Idaho. Lewiston is the number 1 seed in the whole tournament, and the only representation from up north. There is a play-in game this would also be in Grangeville, and that's against the 3 seed out of District 3. So the second place finisher out of District 1 and 2 would play the 3 seed in District 3. So that's likely Sandpoint Lakeland taking on what it looks like to be Bishop Kelly. And according to Brandon's bracketology, he thinks Bishop Kelly has the upper edge on a team like Sandpoint Lakeland.
Yeah, or it could be Skyview, which is another good team.
Correct.
So, the top 4 teams there in the SIC are all pretty decent, and they're all within 2 games of each other. I mean, Columbia and Valley View only have 1 league loss apiece. BK's got 2 and Skyview with 4. But, that's not I mean, I think Lewiston, you want to win districts if you're coming out of District 1, 2. Like, that's your goal, win the district tournament, because you don't have to play that play-in game, because that play-in game is going to be a bear. And that's not a gimme as far as you look at things how they are right now. And especially with Lakeland being banged up right now, they're without their big, which hurts, and you've seen it on the scoreboard in the last few games. And I can't remember if they lost him for the season or not.
I think he might come back for districts.
Districts, yeah.
He's done for the season.
Yeah, done for the regular season. So, is it Sandpoint's chance to kind of take the mantle and try to pull the shocker and maybe knock off Lewiston in the district tournament? That would be crazy if we saw it. It's not out of the realm of possibility because we've seen it before. Sandpoint made it in a few years ago in that same circumstance. So, Lewiston though looks really good. I mean, you talk about the smooth offense, the way they're able to play. Took care of Coeur d'Alene last night, and that's a team I really wouldn't want to face. But I think 5A is probably pretty even this year as far as top to bottom. If you look at like 1 through 6, they're all right there. And Twin Falls, I don't want to knock them too much because they're 12-6 on the season and 7-0 in conference. So I mean, you throw the 7th seed in there. The 7th seed is going to be a district champ. Like that. I mean, that tells you a lot. Plus, Blackfoot is 14-3 on the season out of the High Country Conference, and they're looking at the 5 seed. So.
And I'm pretty sure Twin Falls has a huge win this year. I can't remember who it's against. Columbia. That's who they've beat. They beat Columbia and Valley View this year.
Yeah, they got a win by Columbia by 1. They beat Valley View by 13.
So yeah, you're a 7 seed, yet you have wins against the 3 and 4 seed. So that kind of tells you what you need to know about how good 5A is. Blackfoot's another team they've played Preston really close this year. Preston, they're the defending state champs in 5A. I'm kind of surprised they're not the 1 seed, just of what they've accomplished in the last year and this year too. But I think Lewiston should be lucky being on this side of the bracket. I think it does favors to them. I think they could play well. I think Blackfoot I'd be worried about if I was Lewiston. Yes. But I think they have a good chance to get to the Saturday night game if they can get through Blackfoot. That's kind of my analysis of how. And Lewiston, they have 13 wins in a row right now. They haven't stubbed their foot since, was it Rocky Mountain? 3 weeks. I mean, back in early December. So they've been on a roll for the last month and a half, and that can't be understated.
And that Bengal team is really good. I mean, you've seen them in person and stuff too, so you've got a chance to watch them, and they bring it. They're 16-2 on the season. They've been playing really good ball. Like the 2 losses are both to Rocky Mountain, from like we talked about, and then University High School out of Spokane. So I mean, and then since that University game, Lewiston, like you said, they've gone 13 in a row. And, in doing that, people might poo-poo on their schedule just a little bit because the only 5A teams or upper classification games they've played since is within their own conference. They have a game against a 3A team and a game against a couple 4A teams and a game against a 2A team. So Lewiston's big test coming up this week, though. I mean, they got Lake City coming up Friday night, and then next week they play Post Falls, which I think is going to be a huge game, and then they host Sandpoint the next week after that on Tuesday to wrap out the regular season.
Huge week for Lewiston. I think that's going to tell you everything you need to know about how good Lewiston really is. Because you're right, I wouldn't say they haven't been challenged this year. They played some tough teams, but Lake City, Post Falls are the cream of the crop in 6A.
Yep.
And that'll say a lot about how good Lewiston's been this year. Well,
100%.
Speaking of 6A, it's the last classification. And right now, as it holds, Lake City would get the bid. And it's because, Brandon believes that Lake City, they did beat Post Falls by more than Post Falls beat Lake City. And then it all comes down to the 5A tiebreakers. Is that how I understand it, Ryan?
Yeah. So the way it goes is Post Falls, it goes head-to-head matchup. Obviously, they split on the regular season. Lake City and Post Falls did. Lake City won the first game by 8. Post Falls won the second game by 3. So Lake City owns the edge in the margin of victory. But before you go to margin of victory for the tiebreak, it goes record against 5A. They have the same record. They play the same teams. to round out the regular season. So it's going to take the head-to-head. If Lewiston can knock off a Post Falls or Lake City, that is huge for the 6A, because that completely flips. It basically, you're essentially handing a district championship to one or the other if you beat one of those teams, or both. I mean, if you beat both of them, if you're Lewiston, we're going to the tie-breaking criteria of differentiating score. So the score differential is what comes into play. Lake City owns the edge by 5 points.
And there still is the district tournament, which would be
correct.
Whoever is the 2 seed would have to play Coeur d'Alene, and then it's a best of 3 with those 2 teams remaining. I believe.
And then home court advantage goes to the number 1 seed. Yeah,
which I would say is a pretty good edge because they both won on their home courts. So
correct.
I think there's still lots of up for grabs. Lake City's the 3 seed in Max Preps right now, and Post Falls is 4. And so either way you slice it, Lake City or Post Falls at the moment is going to be in that 3 line. And that's a really good 6A bracket. That's all I'm going to say. It is. I think it was Post Falls did beat Centennial on the year. So that is one edge for them. But really, a lot of these teams, Lake City or Post Falls rather, went down. I think they played Thunder Ridge and Highland. They have wins over those 2 teams. I think Lake City didn't play a lot of teams from down south this year. They went out and played Nevada schools, California, Arizona, which could be more beneficial for them instead of playing in-state teams.
Yep. So and then you look at that bracket too. If you're going to pick an upset, I don't know if I'm going to pick the team from the north. Number 4 team CUNA is not bad. I mean, that's a pretty good little 4 seed right there. That's a team that not a lot of people statewide are talking about. The Cavemen are a really solid program this year. Centennial's dangerous, the ability to score that they've got there. If you look at the first round matchups of that Lake City Highland game, it would be fun. That would be a good ball game, especially for the T-Wolves. I think that's a winnable game. Even if you inserted Post Falls there, I would love to see Post Falls in the state tournament too, and kind of spread the wealth with teams from the north, because we would have seen every team from District 1 play at state within the last, I think, 3 years or 4 years, which would be great. I wish this was a 2-bid league, and that's just not because of numbers, which sucks. Or at least give them an at-large or something like that and a chance to do a play-in game. Because I think both teams are absolutely deserving of their chance to be in the state tournament. Just kind of a shame. Only one automatic bid from the north, and that's it.
Yep, totally with you. No play-in games in 6A at all throughout any classification.
Yep.
Definitely tends to favor District 3. There are a few more bids, but it's because of the numbers, and there's not much we can do to argue about it. But that was if state started today, Skaggs. I think we have a lot of promising teams in Northern Idaho for the boys state tournament in the next month.
Yeah, I think at least we'll see one state champion out of the north this year on the boys. There's title hopes for a couple other teams out there too, the realistic ones, I would honestly think. And I think you could probably say, honestly, 3, maybe 4 teams have a legit shot. Lake City at the 3 seed, I think, is a favorable side of the bracket, if you ask me. But because I do think that they can beat Centennial if they ended up playing them in the semifinal game. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, especially with the lineup that Lake City brings. So, yeah.
No doubt there. We're having a quick Prepcast today. We're only going to have one more segment, and that's our North Idaho 9. And the girls, nothing changed. We couldn't find a single reason. Part of that maybe could be because there wasn't a lot of games happening.
Correct.
Because districts winded down. But at the girls spot, it's still Coeur d'Alene 1, Lakeland 2, Sandpoint 3, Timberlake 4, Prairie, Lapway, and Grangeville all tied for 5th. And then Deary is at 8 and Nez Perce is at 9. I think Skaggs, you can correct me if I'm wrong, just about every one of those teams should be qualifying for the state tournament.
You would be correct.
Every single one. Yeah. At the moment, if everything went as planned, every one of those teams would be
the only one not in our lineup that won't be there would be probably Lakeside.
Yep, you're right. And I'd say Lakeside's probably Yep. And I'd say those are probably the 2 teams on the outside looking in. 1A has played, those 2 teams have played really well all year. And so I don't think we can take away from anything that Nez Perce and Deary have done. They beat each other, or I guess Deary's beat Nez Perce, but I think we did a really good job on the girls' side of the bracket.
Yeah.
The boys, there was a little bit of changing. Lake City still 1, Post Falls 2, Lewiston 3, Kendrick 4, Orofino's up to 5, St. Mary's is down to 6, Lakeside at 7, Prairie's up at 8, and Lapway's now into the top 9 with Lakeland jumping out just because we felt like Lapway's played well in the last couple of weeks. They did lose to Prairie last night.
Yeah.
But I feel like those are teams that are playing really well, not to take away from anyone in 5A. But I feel really good about this list, guys.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that would be lurking would be like Timberline or Court of Christ. Would be on the outside looking in. You could throw Kellogg in that mix too, I think. Just teams that we'll probably be seeing at the state tournament or seeing compete for districts. Kellogg, can they come out of nowhere in the CIL districts and District 1, 2 and see if they can steal a bid? That would be crazy and awesome, and I'm all for the chaos. Like, I love that. But as it sits right now, I think these teams are kind of cemented where they're at, depending on how things shake out. I mean, even with a loss to Post Falls or Lake City, I don't know if I could bounce the Bengals down any further than they are. I think 1 and 2 could move around depending on what happens at districts, but I think that's kind of where it should be. And same for that matter, if you look at, I think Kendrick's kind of cemented where they are too. And yeah, I mean, the team with the highest ceiling there, I think, would be Lakeside, but that's about it.
Do you think if Lewiston wins in the next week, do you think they can get up to 1 or 2 with a win?
Yeah. If they beat both Post Falls and Lake City, absolutely. I don't know how you wouldn't, but that would be an argument for matters that haven't happened yet, and we're talking hypotheticals. But yeah, I think the Bengals, if they get a head-to-head win over both the T-Wolves and the Trojans, like how we've been wondering, is Lewiston a true 1 seed? That would pretty much solidify any sort of like assumptions that we have there. That yeah, they're legit and they're a title contender.
100%. Yeah, you mentioned Kellogg in 3A. We kind of skipped over that, figuring Orofino and St. Mary's were the true 2 seeds that were going to get in, and they've played well. Kellogg's beat Orofino this year, so there is a chance that Kellogg could get into this mix, and they're starting to play really well as of late too. So that'll be some of the questions down the road. But like you said, it's all hypothetical, so still lots to be determined here.
100%.
But
of note, tonight, big wrestling match up north, Coeur d'Alene taking on Post Falls for the 6A de facto league title for the dual meets, which would be huge, and should be a really good dual match. Honestly, I think there's quite a few weight classes there where you've got guys that are jockeying for seed lines at state in the dual, which is awesome to see, especially with districts looming pretty close in the next couple weeks. So yeah, and I know Matt Chat talked about it with the North Idaho Rumble last week, but Post Falls 1, Coeur d'Alene 2, Lakeland 3. I mean, that's, you go 1, 2, 3 out of District 1. That's pretty awesome showing in a really tough tournament. So great job from those teams this last weekend. And the Sandpoint girls taking home the team title on the girls' side. That was big for them because they won it in a runway fashion too.
That's awesome. That's sweet for them. And yeah, wrestling's not too far from hitting the state tournament as well. Last week was kind of our preview for what we thought the wrestling state tournament would pan out to be.
Yeah. Yeah, we can go over some brackets in the future when they come out after districts, because you get kind of a nice week-long bye with girls' state tournament happening and all that stuff. But you get some time to prepare and prognosticate and all that fun stuff.
Absolutely. Well, that'll be it for us on the North Idaho Prepcast. We appreciate you tuning in. And that's Ryan Skaggs. I'm Hayden Eulencott. We'll see you next time.